I got introduced to Dungeons and Dragons by some friends of mine. The first semester of school at Washita, we ended up talking about it at lunch or something, and everybody agreed that we were going to try it. And I mean, I'll admit I was a little apprehensive at first because it seems like a nerd thing, but I ended up having a lot of fun, and we still play pretty often. People who have played fourth edition have said it's very, very focused on like numbers and on abilities, and like pretty much everybody is a wizard because everybody has spells, everybody has game-changing abilities that they can just pull out of a hat. Whereas uh, D&D 5e, the fifth edition of Dungeons and Dragons, is very focused on finding creative solutions for problems. So it encourages players to use spells that don't seem to have very much like point based effects, like in a spell like prestidigitation that's all about making an illusory effect, and using those spells to say convince somebody that you're more powerful than you actually are. So a lot of solutions in D&D 5e I think are really interesting because a lot of situations are not designed to be solved by killing everybody. They're designed to be solved like handling it like a real world situation, whereas conflict is a last resort, which I think is overall um, it's overall very helpful to the storytelling effect of the story, and it feels a lot more realistic than just everybody rolls their dice and whoever gets the highest roll is the winner. Like
Mm.
I think it's I think that evolution that D&D has made into more of a storytelling format is a healthy one, and I think it's only going to go further and further in that direction.
I think it. I think having like terrain and figurines of any kind really helps the imagination. Kind of like setting out um, the play of the game. It's like watching a movie and then reading the book. It's like you see the character that plays them on screen. You see the set that they've created, and so you can imagine and you can picture what that looks like when you're reading the book. And so when they go into depth about this thing and this thing and this thing, you see it on the screen in your head, and you're like, oh yeah, this person did this, and like this is what this creature looks like. But like when you're playing a game and um, you're playing a game and you're like, I'm having a hard time picturing what this person's character looks like, and if they have a little minifig, paint it like it, or I'm having a hard time picturing what the layout of this area is, and you have a map, and you're like, oh yeah, all right, I see this, and so I can see where I can go, what my limits are, what I can use in my surroundings. I don't see it dying down anytime soon. I think it'll continue to grow and continue to grow in popularity because I mean you have so many more ways of watching people play it and watching people or hearing people play it. Like there's so many podcasts out there of people that play through the game, or YouTube channels that people will play the game and you get to see their faces and see their interaction with each other as they're playing it.
A lot of its core elements are going to remain the same. I don't think you're going to lose like doing things based on off of dice rolls, and I don't think you're going to lose like the core of the game, which is abilities and statistics and building characters. But I do think it's really interesting the kind of phase shift that we have seen into more of an online format. I think a lot of D&D stuff is going to go online. And whereas we've already seen some of that with like D&D Beyond and their resources being very good, I think people are starting to notice that. And I think that sites like Roll20 are going to start to see a lot more people using them not just now during our quarantine, but like going on into the future. So I think D&D is going to go a lot more into an online format. I don't know exactly the scale, but I think it could potentially even end up looking like things like World of Warcraft, where it's a digital world that someone can create and people play through it to the DM's narrative.